Welcome and thanks for stopping by. Whether you're new to the channel or have been here before, if you enjoy this video and would like to help me produce more content, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Today we're going to take a look at a watch that's unlike any I've personally ever seen. This is from a new company named Horizon Timepiece, and this is their Stealth Automatic. As we'll get into in this review, we'll see why this got the name the Stealth Automatic. A little bit about the company first. I do want to note this was sent in to me for review. This is just a loaner. I will be sending it back. However, I did want to disclose that piece of information. This watch previously was initially funded on Kickstarter. It did have a successful launch, and it is now live on their website. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into the specs. Overall, this definitely is not a small watch. My measurements have this coming in at 45¼ inches for overall for case size. As far as the lug size, this is coming in at 22 millimeters, so it is a standard lug size. However, we'll have more information on that as well. The lug to lug is very substantial in my opinion, especially for my smaller wrist. It is coming in at 56 millimeters, and we'll look at this on the wrist as well. It does wear a little bit better than the overall measurement would show, however, it is quite large in that regard. Additionally, the overall thickness is pretty substantial, coming in on my calipers at 14.4 millimeters. On the face here, we have on the front a mineral crystal. If you look at the Kickstarter, you will see that this was initially listed as sapphire. I assume that it did launch with sapphire. However, on their website, it is noted that this is a mineral crystal at this time. I was unable to confirm whether or not this has AR coating. As you can see here, picking up a little bit of that glare, it still does maintain legibility either way, whether it does or does not have mineral coating. Or an AR coating rather on the mineral. If I'm able to confirm that with the company, I'll add that information into the description. As far as the movement within this is a Miyota 8215, so this is not the more popular and more premium Miyota 9015. However, I have a lot of experience with the 8200 series movements. I've had great luck with them. One of the big downsides is while they, unlike the 9015, are more similar to like the Seiko NH35 in that they are a low beat movement, so this is coming in at 21,600 beats per hour. It additionally has a similar power reserve at about 40 hours. The big thing with this that differentiates this between the 9015 and the NH35 is that this does not have hacking. So when you pull the crown out, it does not stop the second hand. That's definitely a downside in my opinion. As far as the water resistance, this is coming in at 3 atmospheres or 30 meters water resistance, so it has enough for your basic day-to-day activities, washing your hands, getting exposed to rain, but definitely is far from a dive watch, and I would have liked to see that a little bit higher. For weight, this is only coming in at 80 grams, and that's including the strap, so it is definitely very light on the wrist. As far as the included accessories, this comes with, as you can see here, this leather strap. As you know, if you're familiar with my channel, I do not personally use leather. However, this does appear to be a fairly premium strap. You can see it's noted there as genuine leather and does have Horizon branding. Additionally, flipping over to the buckle, you can see here it does have a very nice, clean appearance for that and does have their logo. You also do get, and in case you missed the unboxing, it comes in this nice snap pouch here, which I really like this. This is one of the nicer pieces that I've seen, and then inside it has this cushion that it ships on as well. Again, I'd actually wouldn't mind having these for some of my watch boxes. Very nice there, so I do like that. The warranty on this is only coming in at 1 year. I would have liked to seen that be a little bit longer, but it does at least have some warranty for peace of mind. All right, so getting then into the actual watch and some thoughts and impressions here. So part of what makes this one so different is you can see right off the bat, and we focused a lot on the front of this, it has a very clean dial, and in fact, it actually has nothing on the dial. You have no printed or applied indices or markers on there at all. You have the actual markers are on this floating, and you can see here, this is a raised piece of steel that sits on top of the crystal for your markers. So that lends to a very clean overall appearance, and it's really unique in nature. Additionally, as far as looking at the hands, you can see here, this is an untraditional two-hand movement. The reason I say that is ordinarily when you would say a two-hand movement, you'd expect it to be the minute and the hour hand. However, this is actually the minute and the second hand for being hands. If you look there, you can see this has a dial that rotates, and it has the hour hand printed directly on the dial. And we'll get into why that's significant. And with that, let's go ahead and actually just flip over and give you the spoiler. This is why it's called the Stealth. You notice here, this rotates around, and that's giving you your hour. But then on the side here, you can see as far as time sync, you can display it right on the side. So what that means for you is whenever you have this on wrist, the whole idea of the Stealth is that you can just read the time from a side view and just glance, and you can see that little indicator there that shows you, and then this does have ticks, so it doesn't have individual minute markers. However, it does break it out as far as your gradation in 5-minute increments, and then 15, 30, up to the hour markers. So pretty neat concept there, and definitely something different than I've ever seen on any other watches, at least that I'm familiar with. As far as the overall case construction, this does have polished finishes on all surfaces, so you can see the side of the case, the bezel, everywhere here, this is going to be polished. So for the overall construction of this is part of where it's so unique. To implement that concept, they ended up going with a two-piece construction. So you have this kind of floating bezel that's up here, and that attaches here through screws, and then down on the side, you can see that split. I was unable to confirm the material on this, whether that's mineral crystal as well in there. It has not seemed to scratch up or have any issues during my usage. But all the way around, you can see it does have a very unique appearance for that. Transitioning over to the crown, you can see this does have a signed crown. This is not a screw down crown, and it is a two position. So even though this does not have any date complication or any other complications, this one is still it does have that ghost or that phantom first click position. You do pull out to the second, and then it just adjusts in your standard fashion. As far as the Caseback, this is coming with a nice two-tone finish. So you do have the mirror, and this is, as you can see, a screw-in Caseback. This does have polish for the most part, and then their logo, I like how that's applied, where it has a nice blasted or matte finish for that. The strap itself is, as I mentioned, a leather strap. You can see it's relatively thick in appearance here and in feel, and that has resulted in a relatively stiff initial feel. I'm sure that would break in over time. Again, were this mine, I would not be using this strap moving forward anyways. We already took a look at the buckle and the logos. One of the things that I wanted to mention here is I talked about earlier with this having 22 millimeter lug size, that this was somewhat unique. You can see here that this has screws on both sides. This does not have traditional spring bars as best I can tell. If you put in a screw blade, that actually has a post that goes all the way through, so you would need to use two screwdrivers to change this, to pull that strap out. I'm not sure as far as the overall thickness, as this isn't my watch. I didn't want to monkey around with it too much to try that out, but you can see in here, if I push that over, that is just a post that goes straight through there to change. So overall thickness might be an issue if this is on the higher side, but I imagine that it's no different than your typical Seiko spring bars with having the extra thickness there. So you should still be able to find strap options for this. Just know it's going to be a little bit of a different change process. So the overall concept, and let's go ahead and put this on wrist and we can see what that looks like. The concept itself, I think, is pretty neat overall. It is definitely something that is different than anything that I have ever seen. It is a very out of the box design, and I have a definite appreciation for that. Here, this is on my 6.5 inch wrist. And you can see, as I mentioned earlier, the lug to lug is definitely longer than is my normal comfort zone. However, it does, with the contour in the way that this comes down, it does fit reasonably well on the wrist. It is definitely larger than I would personally prefer, as well as with coming out so far and having the more pronounced and the mirror polish. It gives it a lot of wrist visual from the size, from the in all respects. So overall, this definitely know that this is going to be a substantial watch on your wrist, especially if you have smaller wrists like myself. As far as the overall construction and how this feels, it is surprisingly very comfortable. Looking at the appearance, I was somewhat skeptical about how this would fit on the wrist and how it would feel. I found that the combination of the lightweight as well as the way that it sits with a somewhat wide stance on the wrist, it pretty much disappears in much more so than the dimensions would otherwise lead you to expect. So I was pleased with that. Additionally, just going to the overall appearance, it's not going to be for everyone, especially on whether or not you like the way that this has the floating markers above the dial. But it is unquestionably, it's a unique concept, and it is overall, I would say, a pretty clean appearance. However, my perception of this, as I'm sure you could pick up on, is not all favorable. I think this was an excellent first attempt in effort. I really appreciate the ingenuity that was going into this watch. However, there are a number of things that I would have liked to have seen changed. First is the overall dimensions. As I mentioned, this is quite substantial in all respects. Thickness, lug to lug, all aspects. This is definitely larger than I would have liked to have seen, and certainly is bigger than I would typically wear. Additionally, as far as the marker legibility, even though it has a relatively clean appearance, because they tried to go for Roman numerals all the way around and they're cut in, you can see it does get kind of tight through here. And for me, as far as the gradation, compared to just traditional tick indexes or even traditional numerals, it gets kind of muddled through here, and I'm not a big fan of the overall legibility, though the dial itself, just using that as kind of a reference point, it is easy to tell the time, so that's not too much of an issue. The stealth usage, which is one of the biggest things here, as you can kind of see, if I put this far away, I don't have the best eyes in the world. I'm a younger guy. That being said, in looking at this in casual glances, I find that I can't generally tell the time that easily. If the lighting is perfect, then yeah, I can make it happen. But I find when I was using this, I would have to really deliberately have my wrist over to the side. As you can see, it kind of cuts off the top of the numerals there if you're trying to do it at an angle. And then similarly with the size of that and the overall, just the plain white text on the charcoal, the visibility or legibility on the stealth feature was a bit wanting for me. So conceptually, I think it's really neat. In usage, though, it was a bit hard to actually read in that manner. Another con for me is the overall specs for their price. I didn't mention the price, but this is coming in at $319 on their website. While I don't think that that's a bad price for this, overall, the market is, especially as new micro brands pop up, is just becoming more and more competitive for overall offerings. When you start looking at things like the 8200 series movement, the mineral crystal, and just some of the different features that this is coming with for the price tag, I think the value starts to get questionable on there. So I would put that in the loose con. What you are getting for that money, though, is something that, again, it's very outside the box, it's very unique, and I am unaware of anything else at that price point because I'm unaware of anything else like this to begin with at pretty much any price point. So I do think that value is going to be very subjective on this one. My last and final con, and this is kind of a nitpicky item, but it is very real as far as actual usage. You might have noticed throughout that you can see a lot of specs going through there in the numerals, and I can tell you it is a bear to keep clean in my usage. Through here is not bad. You can keep the dust off of the center just like you would with any traditional watch. Because those cutouts are relatively small, short of getting something like a Q-tip or what have you and trying to clean that out with regularity, I have found that I have consistently had dust particulates that build up around the edge and then down inside of there. So that is something definitely to be aware of. So overall, I think if you like this overall concept, if you are looking for something that is definitely different and that has a lot of wrist presence and has something that's going to get people asking or looking more at it, I think this does functionally work well. I think it's easy to read, it's legible, it has the unique feature there with the stealth, and overall, I appreciate what they're going for. For me personally, this is one that I don't intend to add to my collection. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work for me as far as my wrist size. However, I do very much appreciate the company sending this in for review, and I'm glad to have gotten some experience with it. It's a really neat concept, and I do like always getting to try new things. So with that, I hope you found this review helpful in your decision. If you have any questions or anything you would like to add, please feel free to add a comment down in the comment section. Additionally, if you want to help me build more content, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're looking for another medium, you can also find me on Instagram. Thank you.